Life is a gift. We often forget that. We get caught up in the day-to-day, the errands, the deadlines, the little annoyances that cloud our vision. We forget to cherish the moments, the laughter, the love that surrounds us. It's easy to take our loved ones for granted. They are a constant in the ever-changing tapestry of our lives. We assume they will always be there, a comforting presence we rarely pause to truly appreciate. But what if that presence was suddenly gone? What if a single, heart-stopping moment ripped away the familiar, leaving behind only silence and the chilling echo of what used to be? It's in those moments, those gut-wrenching, soul-crushing moments, that we truly understand the depth of our love and the fragility of life. It's a lesson none of us wants to learn, but one that lingers in the shadows, waiting to remind us of what truly matters. The gift we take for granted until it's gone. The air was alive with the laughter of children. It was a perfect Saturday afternoon at the park, the sun painting golden hues across the lush green grass. Jackie, a bright-eyed 8-year-old with a smile that could melt the coldest heart, was a whirlwind of energy. She chased pigeons across the playground, her pigtails bouncing with each step. Her mother, Sarah, watched from a nearby bench, a book resting in her lap, her heart overflowing with love.
Oh, Jackie, be careful.
The park was bustling with families enjoying the afternoon. Children squealed on the swings, their parents pushing them higher and higher. Dogs barked playfully, chasing after frisbees thrown across the vast expanse of green. Suddenly, a piercing screech cut through the air. A car, its horn blaring, careened onto the sidewalk, heading straight for the playground. Sarah looked up from her book, her heart stopping at the sight of the oncoming vehicle. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. The car, the screaming children, the terrified faces of onlookers. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, her eyes wide with horror.
Jackie, no!
She screamed Jackie's name, her voice a desperate plea lost in the chaos. The world seemed to spin, the vibrant colors of the park fading to gray as the car slammed into the playground. The impact sent shockwaves through the crowd, a collective gasp escaping their lips. Silence descended upon the park, heavy and suffocating. Then came the screams, a cacophony of terror and disbelief.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Sarah stumbled towards the wreckage, her heart pounding in her chest. Her eyes frantically searched for Jackie, her mind refusing to accept what her heart already knew. She found Jackie lying amidst the debris, her small body still and unmoving. The world around Sarah dissolved into a blur of sirens, flashing lights, and panicked voices. She could only see Jackie, her precious daughter, lying so still. The ambulance ride to the hospital was a blur. Sarah sat numbly in the back, her hand clutching Jackie's. She could feel the faint pulse, a fragile thread of hope amidst the overwhelming fear. The hospital was a whirlwind of activity. Doctors and nurses rushed around, their faces etched with concern. Sarah could only watch helplessly as they whisked Jackie away, her small hand slipping from her grasp. Hours stretched into an eternity as Sarah waited anxiously in the waiting room. Friends and family arrived, their faces etched with worry. They offered words of comfort, but their voices seemed distant, muffled by the overwhelming fear that gripped Sarah's heart. The small community rallied around Sarah, offering support and prayers. They brought food, shared stories of Jackie's infectious laughter, and reminded Sarah that she was not alone in this nightmare.
Thank you, everyone. I don't know what I would do without you all.
The gift we take for granted until it's gone, but in those moments, we find strength in each other. The doctor's words echoed in Sarah's ears.
Critical condition. Head trauma. Touch and go.
He spoke with a gentle tone, but his words were a hammer blow to Sarah's already shattered spirit. Days turned into nights, each one a torturous cycle of hope and despair. Sarah barely left Jackie's side. She talked to her, sang her songs, and read her stories, clinging to the hope that her voice would somehow reach Jackie. The hospital room became her world, the steady beep of the machines a constant reminder of Jackie's precarious state. She prayed, bargained with God, and clung to the belief that her little girl would pull through. Friends and family continued to visit, their presence a source of comfort and strength. They shared stories, offered words of encouragement, and reminded Sarah to take care of herself. But Sarah could only focus on Jackie, her hope flickering like a candle in the wind. Jackie remained unresponsive. The doctors spoke in hushed tones, their faces grave. The words brain damage and long-term consequences hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Sarah refused to give up hope. She clung to the memories of Jackie's laughter, her infectious smile, the way her eyes lit up at the sight of a butterfly. She poured all her love into willing Jackie to wake up, to come back to her. She spent hours talking to Jackie, telling her stories, playing her favorite music. She read her books, hoping that the familiar words would spark a response. She held Jackie's hand, whispering words of love and encouragement, praying for a miracle. The nights were the hardest. The silence of the hospital room was deafening, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the machines and Sarah's muffled sobs. She would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with what-ifs and maybes.
One night, as Sarah sat beside Jackie's bed, her heart heavy with despair, she broke down. Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded with God to spare her daughter. She promised to dedicate her life to helping others, to making the world a better place if only He would grant her this one miracle. She poured out her heart, her voice raw with emotion. She spoke of Jackie's kind heart, her infectious laugh, the joy she brought to everyone around her. She begged for a sign, any sign that Jackie could hear her, that she wasn't alone. As her sobs subsided, a sense of peace washed over her. It wasn't a sudden burst of hope, but a quiet acceptance. She realized that whatever happened, Jackie would always be a part of her. Her love for her daughter transcended the physical realm, and that love would never die. She continued to hold Jackie's hand, her touch filled with a newfound strength. She whispered words of love, not of desperation, but of acceptance and unwavering faith.
The days that followed were a blur. Sarah continued to visit Jackie, to talk to her, to sing to her. She clung to the routine, finding solace in the familiar rituals. Then, one day, something miraculous happened. As Sarah was reading Jackie's favorite story, she noticed a slight movement in Jackie's hand. She paused, her heart skipping a beat. She continued reading, her voice trembling slightly. And then it happened again. Jackie's fingers twitched ever so slightly.
Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She called for the nurse, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation.
The nurse checked Jackie's vitals, her brow furrowed in concentration. "I think," the nurse said slowly, "I think she's trying to wake up."
The news spread through the hospital like wildfire. Doctors and nurses who had treated Jackie stopped by to check on her, their faces etched with a cautious optimism. Friends and family rejoiced, their prayers seemingly answered. Jackie's recovery was slow and arduous. She remained in a semi-conscious state for weeks, her responses to stimuli minimal. But to Sarah, even the slightest twitch of Jackie's finger, the smallest flicker of recognition in her eyes, was a victory. She remained by Jackie's side, encouraging her every step of the way. She celebrated each milestone, no matter how small, with tears of joy and gratitude. The road ahead was long and uncertain. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But Sarah was determined to face them head-on, armed with the unwavering love and support of her family and community. Weeks turned into months. Jackie's progress was slow but steady. She began to respond to voices, to follow objects with her eyes. She started physical therapy, her small body relearning basic movements. One day, as Sarah sat beside Jackie's bed, reading her a story, she heard a faint whisper.
"Mommy."
Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she looked at her daughter. Jackie's eyes were open, her gaze fixed on Sarah's face.
"Jackie?" Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion.
"Mommy," Jackie repeated, a weak smile spreading across her lips.
In that moment, the world seemed to right itself. The fear, the uncertainty, the pain of the past few months melted away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of love and gratitude. Jackie was back. She had a long road ahead of her, but she was alive. And as Sarah held her daughter close, she knew that their bond, forged in the crucible of adversity, was stronger than ever. The gift of life, once taken for granted, was now cherished more than words could express.